Welcome to Sistah's Place Inspiration and Entertainment Show interviews with authors, celebs, and much more with hostesses Latrice Carter and Selena Haskins.
Alrighty, welcome to our Author Spotlight feature. Tonight, my special guest is Aja. Aja, welcome to Sistah's Place podcast.
Thank you for having me so much, Latrice.
Oh, you are so welcome. Finally get to have you on the podcast because you did guess right for Sistah's Place magazine. So that was a blessing. Yes, you did. So tell our listeners a little bit about who Aja is.
Okay, so let me think. Not to be dramatic, but I'm a woman. I'm a woman. And when I say that, I mean, there's so many things about me that are included in that word and in the responsibility of being a woman. I am a wife. I am a mother. I'm a daughter. I am a friend. I have been an employee of other people, and now I'm self-employed. And, but I'm a writer. You know, I think that being a woman and being a writer kind of encompasses everything that I am and everything that I do every single day. So I guess that's the most simplistic way of describing who I am.
Okay.
It sounds like a spoken word poem. I could keep listening.
Right.
If you read some of my books, people say that that's kind of how I come off. It's kind of lyrical. So, but it's really my voice, how I speak.
Okay.
You sing, Arthur?
What you say, Selena?
I said, do you sing?
Do I sing?
Yeah.
I haven't. Well, yes, I sing for my family now, but I used to sing. I was in a few different choruses and choirs in high school, and then I kind of gave it up in college, and so now I just kind of do it whenever I feel like doing it. Really, it brings me joy, but I don't do it professionally.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Though about you, and just even I hear it a little bit in your voice right now. That's why I was asking, do you sing?
Yeah,
you look like a performer.
For real?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get off subject or anything, but I just had to ask that really quick.
That's okay. It's fine. We're opening up, right?
Yes, we are. Yes. So, Aja, how long have you been writing?
Oh, goodness. It feels like my entire life, to be honest with you. But there have just been times in my life that I've not chosen to write. Some of my earliest memories of being a little girl with my mom is with her showing me how to write in cursive and being quite impressive in kindergarten when I was already writing in cursive, because it was just, my mom has this interesting cursive way of writing. And I think it fascinated me even at a very young age, and I wanted to write like her. So she taught me how, even though my writing looks nothing like hers. But the point is I learned how to cursive then. And I think that started my journey into just writing. I love the action of scrawling on paper. And then it developed into stories and storytelling. And my very first story that I wrote was in the first grade. And I don't know if they do this anymore. I know my daughter had this done, but the school that I went to put the story in like a hardbound book. And so I always say my first book was written in the first grade because we even got to decorate the cover and everything. And I'm always asked, where is that book? And I'm like, my mom has it. And, you know, I don't know if she can tell me exactly where it's located, but first book was in the first grade. So I would say around the first grade would be when I first started to write. But I gave up writing for a while when I was in college. Don't know if you have any experiences with just getting into something in your life that kind of takes over and it's not a creative thing, you know? So because it's not creative, you don't get a chance to be creative and it kind of kills it for a while. So when I came, I'm trying to think, it was maybe like a few years after, sorry. It was after I gave birth to my son, Eli. So many years after I graduated is when I started to write again. So there was a gap in between, but I've been writing for almost my whole life.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So being a mom and a wife, how do you find time to write and to balance time just for you?
That's a good one. I think that I don't often have a schedule for setting aside time that's just for me because I don't know that my life allows for me to set a schedule for that, especially now in a post-COVID world, or we're in it. It has severely impacted my ability to get any time by myself because I do work from home, and previously during the school year would be the times where I could sneak in a day a week where I did not write and the children were at school. And so I had most of the day and then they came home and then I would be back to being mom. But since March, we've all been together. Mm-hmm. And very little breaks. My husband is able to work from home. In the beginning of the pandemic, he was working from home all the time. And then they kind of moved him to a modified schedule. So some of the time he's here and some of the time he's not. And like I said, it's just trying to find a moment where I'm actually not needed or not engaged or not around someone has been almost impossible. But even if I'm able to just watch a movie, even if they're around, that doesn't bother me. That I feel like that's a moment. And something as simple as, and not to be funny, but just going into the bathroom and just staying there for a little while.
Yes, I can relate.
That's stealing a moment for me, and that is self-care. But I do know that I need, like, soon, I need something because I feel like I've not had a moment to myself for, it feels like almost a year, and I guess it has been.
Okay. Definitely got to find time for you.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Excuse me. So your latest release is Allure. How did this story come to you?
So Allure is the second book in a series called the Sweet Spot Shorts. The first book in that series is Tease. And these shorts came to me as a way to address or to reach or to touch upon some secondary characters from other books. So in Tease, the first story, it is with Charlie and Chaz. Charlie appears in the second book of my Soulmate series. She's one of the closest friends of the character named Xena. And the second book, Allure, that was just released, is about Mia, who is the best friend of Zola, who is in the first book of the Soulmate series. So my intent with the Sweet Spot shorts is to kind of just give you a little glimpse of those secondary characters, where they are and how they kind of relate to the storylines as I release them. So that's how it kind of occurred to me that Mia has this story in the Soulmate series that is fascinating. You know, there's a story there, but you just don't know what it is because I'm not highlighting it. Mm-hmm. And then I give her an opportunity to be seen and to be heard. And so that's where the idea came from. Okay. And I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
And so that I guess that's where the idea came from. But I anticipate that I'll be continuing to add to this series. I know there's already a book 3, and I won't tell anybody when that's coming, but it'll be soon. Okay. But I don't know that I'm going to stop at 3. I think I may always want to have that option of touching upon those secondary characters.
Okay. Awesome. So without giving too much away, what can you give us a little bit about what Allure is about?
Allure is about Mia and Malik, 2 opposites, where Malik teaches Mia that she can't judge a book by its cover. And he is a delivery man who delivers packages to her office where she is an investment banker. And she has pretty firm ideas about the man that would be for her. And Malik doesn't fit into that criteria. But she soon finds out that he's perfect for all her needs. And yeah.
I liked it.
Once again, I could keep listening.
It sounds like a movie I saw.
Okay. And listening to Aja read, have you considered doing your own audio for some of your books?
No, people keep asking for the audiobooks, and I am definitely considering moving to that. I think, there's a lot of readers that want that option. But I've not thought of doing it myself, because when I listen to myself, I'm probably not hearing what you hear. But I think everyone is kind of critical of their own voices for some reason. I've heard that. So, yeah. I'm sorry.
I said, yeah, we are, but I like your voice.
Well, thank you very much.
It is. It's very soothing. So you can like really sit back and get into a story.
I might have another career, huh?
Voiceover. Hey, there you go. Voiceover.
Yeah.
Hint. So you were talking about, possibly coming out with another series. And I noticed that you just have a large body of work in general, like almost 20 books, almost. Wow. That's a lot. And that's commendable. Do you have a goal in mind of a certain number you're trying to reach, or you're just going to keep telling the stories as long as they keep coming to you?
You got it. Like, definitely. As long as it comes to me and I have a passion for it. Passion is like a big word for me, and it's a big thing in my life, because I try not to do things out of obligation or just because, or, just for money. I mean, don't get me wrong, I need to eat, and my family does need to eat as well. But I want the things that I do day to day, the things that I'm putting so much time and energy into, to be things that fill my life with joy and passion. And so if I have that inside of me, then these stories are going to keep coming. So no, definitely no goal, but I'm always amazed at myself. I know that that's not like the humble thing to say, but like, and I always felt like I was the most humble person I know, but like the reality is I'm like every time I think about the fact that I just finished a book, I go, that's amazing that I did that. And it's something I keep to myself, but now you guys know. But yeah, so I wouldn't have thought 20 books. And I know that there are people who are, could laugh at that because of just how prolific they are. And I look up to them and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But I think for myself and just knowing how hard it is for me to sometimes push the words out,
right,
be consistently pushing the words out. I think that number for me is big. So thank you so much.
No problem. Now, also with your books, women's fiction is your central genre. Have you considered another genre like suspense or, I don't know, historical fiction? Like, have you ever wanted to just explore something else? Children's books, anything?
I have thought about it. When I first started to write seriously for publishing, I had this internal thought that I would just be a multi-genre writer, that I would just write whatever I wanted to write. And I think I found out, though, after a while, that I was consistently writing stories about love. And so then I just kind of had to say, okay, what I'm doing. And so that people can decide whether they wanted to read me, I had to tell them the genre that I was writing in. So that forced me to choose one. But I know there are different ideas that swirl around in my mind that don't feel so much like women's fiction or don't so much feel like romance. But I don't know if you ladies know, I do write in another genre under a pen name. So I have a few books, a handful of stories under my pen name. So I write erotica under a pen name, and that does give me the freedom to write something that's not, I wouldn't say completely different, but it's different. It is different than writing women's fiction romance.
Right.
Okay.
That is different.
look, okay. Look, I'm like sitting here like, okay.
Hey, look, your women's fiction is for us PG-13ers, so to speak. And then, you have your erotica, and that's for your, adult. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
I would say my women's fiction is definitely rated R. Okay. Mm-hmm. But my erotica is do not enter if you aren't ready. It's a completely different type of feeling because it's not love. I think that one of my characters falls in love, but that's not the purpose and premise. So, you're going to get a different type of raw, it's real erotica. That's how I'll put it. Okay.
I have a quick question in regards to writing under a pen name. Now, when you write under a pen name, because I thought about doing that, you don't put a picture of yourself when you're writing under pen name. You just leave it under whatever that pen name is, correct?
Well, with me, I kind of did it differently. When I first came out under my pen name, and I don't mind sharing it, but I write as Deep under, that's my pen name for erotica. When I first came out, my group of fan readers, my reading group, they knew about her. Mm-hmm. And so they were the only ones at first. And so there was a crossover in my readership of people who were already romance readers who were interested in this erotica that was getting ready to drop. And then it just seemed like over time, certain people were picking up that it could be me just because the picture that was for Deep wears a mask. Okay. So you do not see my face when I'm, online as Deep. But there are certain qualities, I think. And then I think, people whispered. And so there were people who eventually found out. And it didn't really bother me. I wanted there to just be a space where if you weren't comfortable with erotica, you didn't feel forced to read it. That was why I created the pen name, not because I was ashamed or didn't want anybody to know, you know. It was just that some people are just not into it. And I wanted my readers to feel safe knowing that Aja would only go so far. And if they wanted something a little bit more or a lot more, that they had a place for that as well. So it got to the place where I just, you know, I've shared it on both pages, who I am. And it's really not a secret unless you just haven't been paying attention or just missed that post. So,
okay.
Yeah, I know someone else, a few people actually that write under pen names, and some people know who they are, but, you know, some people don't. So, like you said, there are sometimes certain avenues you want to explore and go deep, like you said, without the connection to like Asha. Like this is Asha's lane right here, and over here is going to be this lane. You know what I mean? So it's not wrong with separating it out like that.
Okay. All right. Nice.
So speaking of, since you write under pen name and also as yourself, Asha, how do you handle reviews, particularly negative reviews?
I would like to say that they don't hurt even after all this time, but that would be a lie. I mean, my work is my art, and my art is my heart. You know, I have put myself out there in my words. Oftentimes I'm sharing something about me when I share something in my story, even if it's a small part. So my stories are me. And when a negative review is written, I think there's always that initial sting that I feel, at least. But I've learned over the years to let it go, you know, like release it. It may only last a day, seriously. It may not even last the day. It may just last that moment or that hour, but I allow myself to feel sensitive about it. And then depending on what is said in that review, I may try to learn from it, or I may just chalk it up to this is their preference and I'm not their preference. And that's really how I deal with it, because the reality is you're not for everybody. Your words aren't for everybody. My words aren't for everybody. Like, you know, and they just didn't like it. Sometimes they just don't like it. If you're telling me that I didn't piece together my story in the right way, but you're the only person that thinks that, and 20 million other people do think that I did a great job, then I'm just going to say, maybe you're hypercritical, or, you know, maybe you saw something that someone didn't. So I may explore that, but I don't know. I don't know that there's any one way in which I deal with it, but I know that I allow myself to feel something about it and then I let it go. I don't lose sleep over reviews. But I've not really had a review that was so unkind. And I think I've seen those. And when I've seen them, I think, I really hope that he or she just never finds my book because that was mean. That was mean. So I think in those circumstances where people seem personal, I don't know how I would handle that. But so far, you know, they've been negative in the sense that they just didn't like it. And so I just have to deal with the fact that they didn't.
I can understand that. But you have many people who do, and I see you have a lot of 5-star reviews for your book. Which one has been your bestseller, or which one would you say is your personal favorite?
My most recent bestseller is She's Got Soul, which is the first book of the Soulmate series. And it is one of my favorite books. It's a surprise to me because the story kind of came out of nowhere, you know, in which all my stories kind of do that. just kind of came out of nowhere and developed into something that I really could feel. And that's actually how the title came about, was like, I felt it deep down in my soul. So I was like, okay, so she's got soul, and it developed into a soulmate series as I started to build the characters and realized there was a whole entire family of women surrounding this woman, and that I would want to tell their stories. And so it is one of my favorites because it builds the foundation of something that is beautiful and soulful and so expressive. And it just feels like me, like it feels like I'm telling, and I don't mean my story, but I just like the story that is from my heart, like what I really want to tell. It feels like that to me. So I'm very proud of She's Got Soul and what it's done and the entire series.
But that's good. And that's commendable. You should feel that way about your work.
Thank you.
So when you're not writing, though, what do you do for fun? And not to say writing isn't fun, but what else do you do for enjoyment, I should say?
When the world is open, I love to travel. I mean, and I know people are traveling now, but I'm waiting until I feel like it's the safest space and time for me to go out there and come back to the rest of my family. But my husband and I, we love to cruise. This year would have been, last month we had a cruise scheduled. It would have been the first cruise for my children. But it was canceled. And so we love to go to the Caribbean or any beaches, really. We love traveling to Miami, especially. So yeah, we're just travelers. But when we're not doing something so extravagant like that and spending so much money, I love watching movies. I love really good movies, and surprisingly, not romance. Even though if there's a good romance, I'm fine with that. But like, I kind of seek out action, and I love military flicks.
Really? So you go from one end of the spectrum to the far end.
Right.
I'm never what anyone expects, for sure. But yeah, and my husband is, he's an ex-military man. So, it's one of those like nice surprises for him, or it was, that I was into those movies. So we just have like a really good time watching those. I love guns. I love action. Yes, it's my thing. So right now I've been kind of upset because I'm running out of action movies, like good ones that aren't B/C rated. I want an A-rated flick to watch with all the action and guns. So that's fun for me.
Okay.
Well, you're right. That is a pleasant surprise.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So tell us, who are some of your literary influencers and why? You can name 3.
Ooh. That's a tough one. Because when I think of like influence, I'm not sure that's the word for who they are to me, but we'll go with it.
Or inspirations.
Yeah, like some of my favorite writers, 3 would be Beverly Jenkins would be one.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Isdale or L.A. Banks is another, and Nia Forrester. So those would be my 3. And I would say they've inspired me because their voice is their own. They don't sound like anyone else when I'm reading them.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel full. I always feel like I got everything I had to get from that story. Like they didn't leave anything undone and untold. And I just love it.
Okay.
Makes me feel so great.
Very nice. Very nice. If you can go back in time, what advice would you give the little girl in you?
I think the advice would be to just believe in myself, to believe that I can, to have the audacity to do what it is that's in my heart, and to never let go of that.
Okay. That's good advice. Yeah, that's beautiful advice. So what advice can you give aspiring writers or even new writers?
I had someone tell me that writers write every day, and that was the advice that was given to me. And I don't disagree that a writer will or hope to write something every day, most times. But there are days, to be honest with you, that I don't want to write. And I love writing. It is my passion, but not every single day. There are days something else is my passion, and I still am a writer. So I would say that you follow your own voice and be comfortable in it, because I think that is where a lot of us are so insecure when we see someone else maybe possibly like becoming very popular for either the genre they're writing in, or maybe the types of stories they like to tell, or the way they write and the way they're doing it. Here you are, you're doing it your own way, and you don't see anything happening. No one's noticing you doing it your own way. And it can be a tough spot to be in. But I recently gave someone advice, and I said, you are going to have to continue to do what you're doing, because this is your voice. Like, there is no other voice in you. This is the one you've been given. Okay. This is what you have to work with. And it's not a matter of it not being a beautiful voice and not a valid one. It is that you haven't found the people for it. You just haven't found the reader who loves that voice. And I speak from experience, because I remember trying to find my audience, and there were, a lot of people who were reading me or trying me out, but then, it seemed like they really wasn't feeling it, and they didn't seem to be coming back, like they weren't readers that I could continue to connect with, until one did, until one said, oh my goodness, where have you been? I just discovered you. I'm reading everything that you wrote. It brings me joy. It makes me feel something. And you realize, okay, I got to find more of her. It's not that something's wrong with me. I just got to find more of those people who like what I'm doing. And that is not always the easiest thing, but if you want this, you keep at that. You just keep at it, and you never give up. And at some point you will find that your voice, not that you just told yourself that you have a beautiful voice and that it's worthy, but now you can start to see the evidence of it. It begins to carry you the rest of the way. So that's why you have to stick with it. You really just have to stick with it. And that would be my advice. Just don't give up on your own voice.
That's some good advice.
Yeah. Look, that's inspiring to me personally.
Absolutely.
Never give up, ladies.
Absolutely. Never. Keep pressing forward. So how have you been coping with being home during this pandemic? And was there anything that you've learned about yourself since we've all, since the pandemic, since March, especially with the first couple of months where everybody's confined at home, we really couldn't go nowhere. I still limit where I go, but how has that impacted you?
Well, what I recently learned about myself and how it's impacted me is that I gained some weight. That's first.
Have we all? Haven't we all?
Yeah, that's all of us for sure. That's all of us.
Yeah. So that will be my initial response to that. But to be honest, I think that I learned that I really am the introvert that I've accused myself of being, because I love it. I mean, outside of what we talked about earlier, where I'm not getting time to myself the way that I would like to, I don't mind being inside and having my family with me. Okay. And when my husband leaves part of the week, the entire time, like I'm thinking, I want him back here with me. We honestly, and I can say this with all confidence and not be lying about this. We did not argue, not one time during this pandemic. We got along the entire time. We worked together. We made sure that we were able to survive and that our family made it through this pandemic. And I know it's not done, but we've gone through the thick of it together. And I think it was maybe a month ago that we looked at each other and we said, we really did this. And we didn't have any kinks or struggles with each other about like how to do it. And we just didn't have it. There was no tension. And my children have adapted and adjusted. And I could truly say I'm blessed in this. And I realize not everybody's house is, household is experiencing it the same way. And I am praying, if you're listening or if you're here with me right now in this moment, like if it's not the way you want it to be, I'm praying that you get some relief in that, that you have a great day, you have a great experience, that you make it through, but I just have to be honest, like it's just not been bad for me. There have been tough times in the sense that I can see all the things that we love to do outside of the house going away. Like we haven't been able to do our periodic go out to the movies thing. And we did not get a chance to go on our annual cruise or any of our summer vacations. Like we weren't able to do it. There have been things that have been sacrificed. But overall, like our experience with each other has been good. And so it's been good for me. And I learned that I have a lot of patience and that I can be pretty resourceful. Not that I didn't know that, but I feel like I became more resourceful during this period of time than I was before.
Okay. That's good. That's
good.
Great. That's very good.
It's good that you and your hubby are getting along these days, honey. They said the divorce rate is up because people have to deal with each other. They forced to either work it out, or they just can't. Look, I have friends that they work for law firms and they had to actually start going into work. They're getting so many cases. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's sad.
Yeah, it is.
That's a person that you committed to for better or for worse. But that's a whole nother subject for another day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. Yeah, I have friends who are ready to choke their husbands, and I was like, really?
You know what? It could be, honestly, it could be because my husband has worked the entire pandemic. He's just been doing it from home. And so it's not like we're just on top of each other, well, I mean, but it's not like we're in each other's space and face the entire day. And that could also be the thing that is helping us, is that we each have our own things to do. I'm still writing. I've been very productive during the pandemic. And so he's still working, and the children have been in school with exception to the summer period. But, Yeah, we've all had our things to do. So we go to our spaces and then we come together at certain times of day. And, you know, we're always around each other. We have that familyness that feels good. But yeah, because we have other things to do, maybe that's helping us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I won't complain. I'll tell you that. I won't complain about it.
I know that's right.
I know, right? Absolutely. So, well, how can our audience connect with you and learn more about you and where to purchase your book?
You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. My social media handle is Aja the Writer, and that's AJATHE Writer. And then you can also visit my website at www.ajatherewriter.com. And I'm also, all my books can be found on Amazon, and they're all available through Kindle Unlimited. So I'm Aja, AJA.
All right. And we'll make sure we drop your website link on our social media and in our podcast page.
Thank you.
On Facebook. You're welcome. So what's next for Aja?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I will be dropping another Sweet Spot short soon. Don't want to make any promises about exactly when, but you'll see it pop up pretty soon. And then I have the third book in the Soulmate series, Soul Love, that's releasing early next year, and it's scheduled to drop, I believe, February the 12th. But I may surprise my readers by releasing it a little bit early. So that is what I have on my agenda right now.
Okay. All right. Well, Aja, we enjoyed talking to you tonight. It is always a pleasure.
Likewise. I really enjoyed you, ladies. Thank you so much.
It's good to match your voice to your beautiful face.
Oh, thank you.
Her makeup be fierce, girl.
I know. She beat that face, honey. Yes.
But thanks again. Thank you so much for being on the show. And we so appreciate you. And we want all of our listeners to make sure you go out there and you pick up her books. If you're new to Miss Aja, you will not regret it.
Be sure to subscribe to Latrice's YouTube channel, sistah'splace, and follow her on all social media.